Welcome back, everyone. I'm John Euler. This is Journey to Healing. We are in the midst of a series on, the overall series is grief and loss, but we are looking at the issues of the issue of boundaries and the importance of that if we are to heal. If we're to be able to heal from things that have happened to us, which will enable us to be what I say, or what I call, being fully emotionally present in the moment. That's really the goal of counseling. Well, there's a number of goals, but the primary goal in my estimation is this. Being able to have peace, have internal peace, and have rest. What will that enable me to do? I will be able to be here in the here and now. Because if I have a lot of stuff going on the inside, you may be talking to me, but where is my mind? A lot of wives, not just wives, but right? How many wives say, are you even listening to me? Right now, we understand somebody who's trying to concentrate and therefore they're not hearing, but have you ever met someone that no matter when you try to talk to them, they're sort of not there. They're staring at you, but you can tell they're elsewhere. Teachers know that all the time. What they do, they have to ask the student, and I got that on occasion, right? Mr. Euler, are you with us, right? Mild forms of that are daydreaming or kind of being distracted, right? If you are at work, and especially if you're in a business meeting, what happens? If you're not able to concentrate, so let's say you just got a phone call, and let's say it's an impactful phone call, and you have to go into a meeting. I'll tell you what, you're not fully emotionally present. You're going to have to keep bringing yourself back to try to concentrate. You might even say, oh, I'm sorry, right? Or can you repeat that? I'm sorry, right? You can only do that so long before somebody begins to ask, hey, are you even listening? Like, where are you? In sports, there's a term. You got to get your head in the game, right? Sports psychologists, by the way, are hired by professional teams to help athletes who are very capable be able to get out of that slump and be able to get their head in the game. Once they have their head in the game, what does that mean? They're operating in the right brain. They have the skills. Now it's in that flow. So when I'm finding it very difficult to attend, when I'm finding it very difficult to be my best in the here and now, then there may be some stuff going on. So one of the goals of counseling should be that I'm able to be fully emotionally present in the moment. Another goal, by the way, would be that I can anticipate, kind of in 360-degree fashion, like dropping a rock into a pond in the concentric circles. Can I anticipate with what I'm about to say or do? Can I anticipate how it's going to play out? Or am I surprised? And the question is, if I'm surprised, why? Because if I'm surprised, then in a way, a case could be made that I was not in touch with reality. I wasn't in touch. Why? Because I thought it was going to play out how, and suddenly I'm shocked. Now, there are times, right? There are exceptions. But if I find myself oftentimes surprised by how people are responding to me, then what's going on? It may be that I have issues that are blocking or preventing me from being able to see things clearly. And by the way, one other little goal of counseling is to ensure that on a go-forward basis, that when I find myself having to have difficult discussions with someone, that I can act in such a way and be mindful in such a way so as to anticipate what I'm going to say. I can anticipate how that's going to play out so that I can bring to the table, bring to the situation, that which will be strategically useful and helpful and beneficial in the moment to that person. If the person is a selfish person, then can I begin to bring boundaries to the table? And all of that is through truth. And the operating principle, depending upon who I'm dealing with, will be truth and grace. So there's a different proportion that is required depending upon who I'm dealing with. So if I'm dealing with a selfish pig, And in previous podcasts, we have dealt with the concept of a pig. That comes out of Matthew chapter 7, verse 6, where Jesus said, "Do not cast your pearls before swine." I have to be able to discern the nature of the person I'm dealing with. Why? So that I apply the right amount of truth and grace. If it's someone that is abiding by and restrained by their own conscience, then I don't need much truth. They need a lot of grace because they're going to be the hardest on themselves. I don't need to pile on with that. They'll actually dial it back. But if it's someone who cares more about themselves than somebody else and is not listening to their conscience, then I need to apply more truth than grace. And what is truth as far as when I apply that? It will be in the form, ultimately, the form of boundaries. So if I'm to maintain healthy relationships and if I'm to maintain a healthy state of being, I have to be able to have boundaries. And we've been looking at those things that hinder our ability to have boundaries. We looked at last time what happens when emotions are ignored. And that was actually last program, not part 1 of this, but last week. Things will take place as far as emotional responses under the surface that are really going on, but I may be disconnected. And so they'll manifest themselves in typically in emotional reactivity. Either I blow up, right? We saw an analogy of that with the energy that comes up from a shock wave, as it were, or an explosion underwater, or where it implodes, where I cave in on myself. We call that depression. If I explode, it's pretty easy to see what's going on, that somebody has something under the surface. But if I implode, that's not as noticeable. But that will bring about, oftentimes, depression and anxiety. The previous side of the break, we looked at what is under anxiety and depression. So we're dealing with the issue of boundaries. Why? Because without boundaries, whatever has been going on will continue. And if I have somebody in my life that has demonstrated a significant degree of hurtfulness in the past, unless there's been something that has indicated that they have genuinely changed, then guess what? They probably haven't changed, and therefore what's going to happen? The next time I get together with them, what's going to happen? The same thing. And the definition of insanity in the world of recovery is what? Everybody knows that, right? It is doing the same thing time and time again, yet expecting a different result. But then who really has the issue ultimately? So if I know somebody's a snake, there's a poem about that. Why should we be surprised if somebody acts consistent with their nature? So that's why Jesus said, if you're dealing with a selfish pig, here's exactly what's going to happen. And he said, if you give your pearls, your time, effort, energy, resources, that which is valuable to you, that which you are a steward of, which you will be called to give an account of. If you give that which is valuable to someone who is a selfish pig, they will not appreciate it. Therefore, that verse continues. It says, do not cast your pearls before swine, lest they do what? They trample your pearls. They're going to walk all over whatever you're giving to them. They don't value it. As a matter of fact, how many parents or how many loved ones have bailed out somebody time and time again that's in the midst of his or her addiction? Now, that's a tricky thing because you've got an actual chemical issue going on. But at some point in time, if they haven't finally hit bottom, right? Some people will describe, well, my bottom had another bottom, then they hadn't hit bottom. So if you don't have boundaries with someone, for instance, who has an addiction, what will happen? You will keep giving and giving and giving. They will keep taking and taking and taking. That's one of the hardest ones because they may have actual pain that they are self-medicating. But are you helping them? No, you're prolonging that degenerative process because little by little it's killing them. And for fear of, what do? you give in, and you try to help them. But if you just continue to do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. That's a very difficult thing, right? Many, many books have been written. What do you do with especially adult children who have gotten themselves into addiction? It's an extremely hard topic, but probably the best model is the father of the prodigal son. You have to be willing to face the worst case scenario. You have to cut that person free. You have to have boundaries. Now, is the addict going to be happy about that? Absolutely not. Could that potentially be the end of your relationship? Correct. Could they actually end up dead? Correct. But what are you going to do? Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. 3,000 years ago, Solomon wrote, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him," meaning acknowledge God, God's principles, "and He'll direct your path." If you don't do that, it doesn't necessarily mean shame on you. What does it mean? It just means here's what's going to happen. Because if you're fearful, it makes you human. But if you're fearful and that's what drives your decision making, then you're actually trusting in yourself with your whole heart. You're taking matters into your own hands. So you're trying to figure this out. Jesus said, if somebody's a pig, do not cast your pearls before swine. Somebody can morph into a pig. How do you know if they've morphed into a pig? I recommend you go and watch the podcast on how big of a pig. That's on SurvivorSupport.net. As a matter of fact, there's a number of podcasts dealing with aspects of piggishness. Okay, so you have to be able to discern that so that you finally can put the right kind of boundaries and apply the right degree of grace and truth. Because if you apply grace, when truth is needed, you're going to enable or you're going to rescue, and therefore you give that person more rope, more rope to be hurtful. So what boundaries do is they compress time. The reason why you are avoiding having boundaries is what? For fear of. But the question is this: what could things be like in 2 years? 5 years? The only way to find out sooner rather than later is begin to speak the truth in love. And as iron sharpens iron, meaning you're going to begin to apply some boundaries, and then it may take you spurring one another on to love and good works. What is a spur? What is a spur? It's a motivational tool. If someone is being a stubborn donkey, then you apply the spur of truth and it will motivate them. You'll find out the truth, quite frankly. What prevents us from being able to implement boundaries? It really comes down to fear. Fear of what? Really the fear of the worst case scenario happening. In order to implement boundaries, you have to be able to be clear on a few things, but one is you have to be able to be clear on the extent to which the other person knows what they're doing. There's many, many people in adulthood that have parents that have acted the same way, though they may be modifying it just a bit, but under the surface, it's the same kind of stuff. But each Christmas or each Thanksgiving or during vacations, we get back together with those parents, and what happens? Stuff happens. And so here's what people use as an alternative. Well, we've decided, we love our parents, but we think after about 2 days. So we're going to, right? Some of you can relate to that. Now, I'm not criticizing anybody for the decisions they make as far as the extent to which they are going to be around family. But the question is this: why not 3 days? Well, it's just, a little too close for comfort. Okay. Well, why not just be a little more patient? Well, but no, we think that, right? Some of you are relating to this. And again, to each their own. But the question is this: why not 1 day? Well, no, 1 day you just arrive and get to know each other. Well, then what happens between day 1 and day 2? people are just getting warmed up, right? Or what are we afraid of? That certain person you're thinking of has been on their best behavior. And about day 2 or day 3, that's when it starts to come out. And you also realize, I can handle about 2 days, but anything beyond that. So we'll come up with all sorts of explanations why we're just going to limit it to about 2 days. Because, too close comfort, everybody needs their own space. And, the reality is what? That after day number 2, or what you found, whatever number day, you find that that person is going to begin to say things. They're going to begin to have attitudes that do what? That you can only suck it up for just so long before what's going to happen, before it's going to come out. So you're managing dysfunction by what? By limiting the time. But are we ever told to only spend 2 days in the pig pen? John, do you know what you're suggesting? Yes, I do. I'm suggesting that you think deeply about what Jesus said when he said he didn't necessarily come to bring peace but a sword, setting family members against one another. Now, that will certainly have to do with salvation. We understand that, but is that it? Other than that, everything's fine? No. You speak the truth to people who don't take kindly to your speaking truth, and guess what's going to happen? Out will come what? Out will come a mocker, somebody that argues, somebody that just nitpicks. You look at, and go back and look at some of the podcasts we've done on piggishness, on narcissists. What's a narcissist? Somebody that's just selfish. And what happens? They will start to chip away at you. That is not a nice person. That's not someone that you may be related to them, but it means you're related to a pig. Now, we're not calling names. We're saying we need to discern, because if we don't, Jesus said, do not cast your pearls before swine, because they will take your pearls, or they're going to take everything you have. You're being nice, remember, and that's a mistaken notion. We're not called to be nice, right? That's enabling, actually. They'll walk all over your pearls, and then they're going to do what? Then they're going to turn on you. That's why Jesus said, don't be around them. It's not loving to be around a pig. I know what I'm saying, right? John, that's going to do what to our... do you even know what you're suggesting? Yes. And you may be pretty lonely, but guess what? Then you won't feel guilty for the things that come out of your mouth when you've been reactive. Why are you reactive? Because you haven't been able to have boundaries. What are the things that will keep you from having boundaries? Fear. What happens when I can't speak the truth in love? I have to suck it up. And now my adrenaline kicks in, and watch the previous podcast about what happens when adrenaline kicks in. So what's going to keep me from implementing boundaries is fear. Fear from a lack of clarity on the extent to which the other person is responsible for their actions and words. If I'm going to implement boundaries, I have to be sure. So here's a brief question, brief assessment. So are they capable? Are they competent? Are they aware? Do they understand and comprehend the difference between right and wrong and good, better, and best? Are they able to make volitional choices? Meaning they're actually making decisions that they can figure out the difference between right and wrong. And are they able to turn it on and turn it off when it benefits them? And do others view them as capable? Meaning, are they in a job? Are they in a position where people actually respect them or have to defer to them? Are they in a management position? Then they have the skills necessary to conduct themselves in a reasonable fashion. If they acted on the job as they do in your home, would they keep a job? Yet so many times we tolerate people giving their best outside the home, yet what is it like on the inside? If I don't have boundaries, then I will never be able to know what is true. And some of you have relationships that have been toxic for years, and you don't know if it could ever change, but you do know what? you do know you are being impacted. And there are a lot of issues that stem from the past, stem from past relationships that will prevent somebody from being able to have boundaries in the current day. And if you don't, what can happen is you can experience shame and guilt that actually came from an inability to have boundaries in the past, or from the anger that came up that you were never able to deal with. And let's say that person that caused you all this pain is now dead. Now that's the makings of a love-hate relationship. And if you were so angry that you wanted them to go away and possibly even die, what happens if they do? Now you can be living with what? And try working with that person. That's a horrible situation. There's a very powerful movie called The Great Santini. We watched a little bit of that. We're going to watch another clip, and this is very powerful. And there's a scene in it where we're going to see that he went and rescued a friend, the son did, and the friend was killed, really by white supremacists, basically. And you'll see the black friend in a car, and he's died. But watch this father over time, and some of you will be able to relate to the degree of guilt, and it's really false guilt that this young man has. And the only way for him to work through that is to be able to begin to identify the extent to which his dad was a pig.
Okay, Hogs. I've listened to you bellyache about moving to this new town. This said bellyaching will end as of 15:30 hours. Will not affect the morale of the squadron henceforth. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir!
I know it's rough to leave your friends and move every year. But you are Marine kids and can chew nails while other kids are sucking cotton candy. And you're Meachams. Meacham's a thoroughbred, a winner all the way. Gets the best grades, wins the most awards, and excels in sports. Meacham never gives up. I want you Hogs to let this burg know you're here. I want these crackers to wake up and wonder what the hell blew in a town. Okay, Hogs, by nightfall I want this camp in inspection order. Do you read me loud and clear?
Yes, sir! Sir.
I said, do you read me loud and clear?
Yes, sir!
Outstanding. Sergeant, dismiss the troops.
Dismiss.
The Great Mentini! Do you know, Dad, not one of us has ever beaten you in a single game. Not checkers, not dominoes, not softball, nothing.
Watch it, Ben. He's getting that look.
Come on over here. Come on over here to Daddy Bull. It's all over, Colonel. Get out of here before I knock every freckle off your face.
That's mean.
Wasn't that great?
Come on, Jocko, you gotta win by 2 baskets.
He said one.
I changed my mind, let's go.
Now, you're not going to cheat the boy out of his victory. Come on, be a good sport.
Who the hell asked you anything?
Don't you talk to me like that.
I'll play him, Mom.
No, you won't. Now, he beat you, and it was beautiful.
Lily, you better get in the house before I kick your butt.
It was just beautiful.
No, I mean it. Come on, let's go. Hurry, come on.
Touch that ball.
Dad.
You better move, woman. All right.
Jerk.
Come on, let's go. Come on.
He beat you.
Get out of here.
Kind of like winning, huh, Dad?
Get smart with me, Jocko. Kick your butt. Now, come on, guard me. You gotta win by 2.
I'm not gonna guard you, Dad.
Hey, Mama's
I won.
boy. Mama's boy. I bet you're gonna cry. Come on, Mama's boy. Let's see you cry. Come on. Squirt a few. Come on, cry. Come on, cry. Come on. Come on. Just a few. Come on. Squirt a few. Come on. Let me see you squirt it. Come on, cry. Cry. 1, 2, 3, cry. 1, 2, 3, cry. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on, little girl. Cry. Cry. My favorite daughter, Ben. I swear to God, you're my sweetest little girl.
This little girl just whipped your ass good, Colonel. Dad. Tumor. Dad, Tumor.
You disobeyed a direct order, Hog! A direct order from your commanding officer.
Yes, sir.
You knew you'd catch hell for it.
Yes, sir.
Went ahead and did it anyway. I want to know why.
Because I promised Arabelle, and I thought Tumor might be in trouble.
And what?
And because I was your son.
What the hell's that got to do with it?
Because you would have done it. Santini would have
We're
done
not
it.
talking about me, goddammit. We're talking about you.
Oh, sure. And I'm a Meacham. A Meacham's a thoroughbred and winner all the way. He toasts nails while the other kids eat cotton candy. He never surrenders. He never gives up.
You disobeyed a direct order.
I thought Tumor might be in trouble.
I told you he could take care of himself.
Yes, sir. That's what you told me.
Is that him in the car?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Tuma, how you doing, sports fan? Jesus H. Christ. Better take him to the hospital. I'll get the sheriff and tell Arabelle. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say something?
Nobody tells you anything, Dad. Ain't you going to bed?
Oh, in a while, Chauvet, in a while. Can't you sleep?
Mama.
Yes, darling.
I gotta tell you something. I used to pray for his plane to crash. I really did. And I just keep thinking that one of those prayers was up there floating around and he accidentally ran into it.
What?
Mama, I feel so terrible that he had to die for me to be free.
No. Now listen. It was not his dying. Listen to me now. You were free the night that you went to help Tuma. Now look at me. You know that's true, don't you?
You're not saying that's the result of the father, who was a pig, died in a fighter crash. And you can see with that son, he's now burdened with this false guilt, quite frankly. He thinks he brought about his father's death. If that father had not died, and now that young man grows up, he starts to have a family, and now they want to have holidays together. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen each time that young man now becomes a dad of his own and has kids, and he goes back with his dad? What do you think would happen? It's only a matter of time till that man, that father, meaning that original guy, Robert Duvall, does what? Starts to disrespect him. So unless I can have boundaries, that which has happened in the past will still continue. And unless I go back and deal with the past to heal it, I will not be able to have boundaries. So both have to work in concert with one another. Until next time, I'm John Euler, and this is Journey to Healing.
You've been listening to Journey to Healing, sponsored by SurvivorSupport.net. We trust you've been helped by the information our host, John Euler, has shared. To donate to this ministry, schedule a personal consultation with John, or to arrange a professional training for your church or organization with John, simply visit our website. On behalf of Survivor Support, we look forward to hearing from you and to have you join us next time on Journey to Healing.